My friends, there comes a moment in every chosen one's life when everything stops. The noise fades, the distractions vanish, and a voice inside whispers, not in fear but in truth, you are not like the rest. You've always felt different. And that's not a coincidence. From the earliest memories of your life, there was a quiet knowing inside you. While others blended effortlessly into the rhythms of this world, you found yourself watching from the outside. You didn't speak too much, but you noticed everything. You sensed energies in people before they spoke. You could feel the tension in a room before a word was even uttered. And you always carried questions that no one else seemed to be asking. Questions too deep for your age, too complex for your surroundings. Yet they echoed within you like ancient bells. It wasn't because you were broken. It wasn't because something was wrong. It was because something was different. You were tuned to a different frequency, walking a path that wasn't visible to others. While most chased approval, you sought truth. While others were satisfied with surface conversations, you longed for soul-level connection. You never quite fit into the box society laid out for you, and every time you tried to squeeze yourself into it, you felt like you were betraying something sacred within. This difference wasn't your weakness. It was your signal, a quiet pulse from the universe reminding you, you are not here to blend in. You are here to awaken. That sense of isolation, that feeling of being too much or not enough, those were not flaws, they were signs. Signs that your spirit carried a blueprint unlike the others. You didn't just arrive here to exist, you were sent here, with purpose etched into your being. And while the world tried to tame you, silence you, mold you, your soul kept rising, whispering truths in the background of your chaos. Even in your darkest moments, something inside you refused to give up. When the world told you to be quiet, you dreamed louder. When they told you to shrink, you questioned why. That resistance was your spirit, remembering its origin. You were never meant to follow blindly. You were meant to see clearly, to break patterns, to challenge systems, to awaken not just yourself, but those around you. And maybe you don't have all the answers yet. Maybe you still feel like a stranger in a loud world. But that's because your mission was never to feel normal. It was to remember who you are, despite everything designed to make you forget. You've always felt different because you are. You carry something others don't. A light, a memory, a calling. And every moment of discomfort, every tear you've shed in silence, every question that kept you awake at night, it was all leading you closer to the truth. The world doesn't need more copies. It needs originals. It needs you. Not the masked version, not the dimmed down version, the real, unfiltered, untamed version that's been waiting to emerge. So if you've always felt different, understand this. It's not a coincidence. It's a clue, a sacred reminder that you were never meant to be ordinary, because your soul was born extraordinary. Your soul carries codes older than this world. Before you ever opened your eyes in this lifetime, before you took your first breath, something ancient was already alive within you. Not learned, not inherited from your bloodline, but encoded in the very structure of your being. These codes are not visible to the human eye. They don't appear on DNA charts or medical scans, but they show up in your intuition, your wisdom, your dreams, and the way your heart reacts to truth, as if it already knows it. You felt this depth in moments you couldn't explain. Maybe it was a dream that felt more like a memory. Maybe it was an unshakable sense of déjà vu. Or maybe it was the way you walked into certain places and felt something move in your chest. Something familiar, though you had never been there before. These are not accidents. They are fragments of a truth your conscious mind can't fully grasp, but your soul never forgot. You carry more than a history. You carry a cosmic signature, a language of light and experience, written across timelines, dimensions, and lifetimes. This world may have taught you to measure yourself in terms of age, background, education, and success, but that is only the surface. What truly defines you lies far beneath the skin, where eternity breathes through your spirit. Your soul remembers what your mind cannot. You've always felt called to things that couldn't be explained, drawn to ancient cultures, sacred symbols, or mysterious philosophies that you never learned about, but somehow understood. You've looked at the stars not just with wonder, but with longing, as if somewhere out there, a piece of you still resides, and that feeling is not fantasy, it's recognition. Your soul has traveled long before this body. It has gathered wisdom from beyond this earth. It carries the imprints of lifetimes that have shaped you into someone who sees through illusion, who feels what others miss, who knows without being told. This is why you never resonated with superficiality. This is why small talk bores you and fake smiles drain you. You are not here to live a shallow existence. You were not designed for the ordinary. You were chosen to bring ancient light into a modern world. You were born to remember who you are and to help others do the same. Not with force, not with pride, but with presence. Your sensitivity is not a flaw. It is a receptor tuned to frequencies beyond the physical. Your compassion is not weakness. It is proof of your eternal memory. And your resistance to conformity is not rebellion. It is your soul's refusal to be silenced. So when the world makes you question your worth, when people tell you you're too intense, too deep, too different, remember this: your soul carries codes older than this world, and in that truth lies your power, your clarity, and your reason for being here. The system fears the ones who awaken, not because they are violent or loud, but because they see. Because awakening doesn't make you more aggressive, it makes you more aware. And awareness is dangerous to a world built on illusion. The moment you begin to question the rules you were taught to obey, the roles you were trained to play, and the limits you were conditioned to accept, that's when you become a threat, not to society, but to the system that feeds on silence, on blind obedience, on people who forget their power. You were never meant to be just another cog in the wheel. But from the moment you were born, you were gently, subtly, systematically pushed into a mold. Be polite, follow orders, do as you're told. Don't ask too many questions. Don't speak too loudly. Don't feel too deeply. You were programmed, not educated. Trained, not nurtured. The system didn't want you awake. It wanted you functional, productive, predictable. But something inside you resisted. Maybe it started with a quiet discomfort, a voice that said, "This isn't all there is," or a moment where everything you believed crumbled, and suddenly the world felt unfamiliar. That was your soul stirring. That was the beginning of your awakening, and from that moment on, you started seeing things differently. You noticed the patterns in the chaos, the manipulation in the media, the fear used as control. You saw the masks people wear, not just on their faces, but over their truth. And once you see, you can't unsee. That's why the system fears you, because you no longer believe everything you're told. You no longer chase validation from broken structures. You no longer surrender your mind for the comfort of being accepted. And that terrifies them, because the awakened don't follow. They lead, they question, they reflect, they inspire others to wake up too. The system survives by keeping people asleep, distracted by entertainment, divided by politics, addicted to approval, and shackled by fear. But an awakened soul doesn't participate in that game. You stop playing roles and start living your truth. You stop chasing and start creating. You no longer fit in, and instead of feeling broken, you realize you're free. They won't celebrate your awakening. They'll call you difficult, delusional, arrogant, isolated. But that's because they need you to believe that consciousness is loneliness, that truth is madness, that awareness is rebellion. But it's not. It's remembrance. And once you remember who you are, what you're capable of, and why you're here, their control breaks. So if you're feeling the friction, if you're losing friends, if you no longer resonate with what used to excite you, don't panic. You will resonate with what used to excite you. You're not breaking down. You're waking up. And the system? It fears the ones who awaken. Because one awakened soul can spark a revolution without saying a word. The pain you carry is a reminder of your mission. It was never random. It was never meaningless. Every heartbreak, every betrayal, every silent scream behind closed doors, it all shaped you. The world may have seen your suffering as weakness, but in reality, it was your soul being carved into something unshakable. You weren't punished, you were being prepared. The weight you've carried in your chest, the tears you've wiped when no one was watching, the nights you felt like giving up, those were the sacred fires of transformation. You were being stripped of illusions. Not because you weren't strong enough, but because you were meant to see through them. You see, people with light missions don't get light lives. You didn't come here for comfort, you came to grow, to remember, to rise. And that rise had to be earned through the very pain you wished you could escape. The universe didn't break you, it opened you. It didn't hurt you to destroy you, it hurt you to awaken you. Your scars aren't signs of failure, they are signs that you were chosen to endure what most people can't even face. You are doing what most people can't even face. You are doing what most people can't even face, not because you deserve to suffer, but because you were born with the capacity to transform it. The heaviness you feel isn't weakness, it's a reflection of your depth. You carry more emotion because your soul remembers more. You break more often because your energy wasn't designed for shallow living. And every time life pushed you to the edge, you didn't fall. You found wings no one knew you had. That quiet resilience, that hidden fire, that instinct to keep going when everything inside you wanted to stop. That's your mission speaking. You were born to bring light to dark places, but first you had to walk through the darkness yourself. You couldn't guide others out of their suffering if you hadn't faced your own. You couldn't speak truth if you hadn't bled lies. You couldn't offer healing if you hadn't bled. The pain you carry didn't come to ruin you, it came to refine you. It came to sharpen your voice, deepen your empathy, and awaken your purpose. And maybe no one saw your battles. Maybe no one clapped for your survival, but the universe did. Every tear was counted, every ache was witnessed, and every step forward, no matter how small, was sacred. The pain didn't come to define you, it came to remind you of your strength, of your calling, of the light you were born to protect. You didn't come here to be numb, you came here to feel, to transform, to teach others how to rise from what was meant to bury them. So carry your pain not as a burden, but as a badge, not as a curse, but as a compass. Because if you still feel it, that means your mission is still alive inside you, and it's waiting for you to answer it. You didn't come here to live a normal life. That's why every attempt to follow the crowd leaves you feeling empty. That's why pretending to be like everyone else drains your spirit instead of filling it. You weren't made for shallow conversations, routine days, or surface-level living. There's something inside you that always longed for more. Not more possessions, but more meaning. Not more status, but more truth. You've tried to force yourself into the box the world laid out for you, but your soul refuses to shrink. And every time you tried to silence it, that deep inner fire burned hotter, louder, stronger. Because deep down, you know, this life wasn't meant to be a quiet repetition of yesterday. You weren't sent here to follow scripts written by people who fear their own voice. You came to remember. You came to awaken. You came to lead. And leadership doesn't always mean standing on a stage. It often means standing alone. It means breaking cycles, walking away from what's comfortable and stepping into what's unknown, but true. The world praises comfort. It encourages safety. It rewards those who color inside the lines. But you've never been satisfied with coloring between borders. Your creativity spills over. Your thoughts reach beyond. Your heart aches for something real. And no matter how much you try to live the way others expect, there's always a quiet knowing inside that says, this isn't why you came. You didn't come here to chase the same dreams they handed everyone else. You didn't come here to spend your life seeking approval from people who never understood your depth. You didn't come here to numb yourself with distractions and call it peace. You came here to wake people up by the way you live, by the way you speak, by the way your energy shifts a room without you saying a single word. And yes, that path is lonely at times. It hurts to feel so much. It hurts to stand out. It hurts to know that no matter how hard you try, you'll never truly belong to the masses. But that pain, that disconnection, it's a reminder. You weren't meant to fit in. You were meant to light up the space you walk into. You were meant to carry a frequency that shakes others from their sleep. You were meant to embody something sacred in a world that forgets the sacred even exists. So if your life feels too strange, too intense, too out of sync with the world around you, good. Long before you found the strength in your voice, long before you discovered your worth, there were people and energies that recognized your potential. They saw something in you that even you hadn't yet seen in yourself. A light, a power, a truth. And instead of nurturing it, they feared it. Instead of honoring it, they tried to extinguish it. Not because you were weak, but because you were dangerous to the illusion they were living in. There's a reason you were targeted so early, why you were silenced when you tried to speak, why you were misunderstood, isolated, shamed, why your kindness was taken for granted, your silence mistaken for weakness. They sensed the vibration of something uncommon inside you. They could feel the presence of someone who wasn't meant to be controlled, someone who carried depth, awareness, and the potential to see through the masks that others wore so tightly. And the system, the world, even certain people close to you, they couldn't risk you waking up too soon. So they tried to crush it. They mocked your sensitivity. They made you question your own instincts. They distorted your reflection so deeply that for a while you forgot what you truly looked like. But that was the plan, wasn't it? To convince you that your light was a flaw. To make you shrink, doubt, conform. To keep you chasing love, validation, safety from those who never intended to give it. And yet, you didn't break. Yes, they wounded you. They made you bleed silently in places no one could see. They bruised your spirit and tried to convince you it was your fault. But something within you never gave in. It whispered when you couldn't speak. It stood when you were crawling. It remembered when you forgot. And slowly, piece by piece, you began to rise. You started to hear the truth louder than the lies. You began to see that the rejection wasn't because you weren't good enough. It was because you were too much for their comfort, too bright for their shadows. You weren't born to be broken. You were born to break through. And all the pain they caused, all the times you were pushed down, overlooked, and cast aside, it was never about you being small. It was about others being terrified of what you might become if you ever stood tall. Because deep down, they knew. They saw the future warrior behind the quiet child. They sensed the storm in your calm. They feared the power that would erupt the moment you stopped doubting and started remembering. So now that you do, keep going. Speak with the voice they tried to steal, walk with the strength they tried to bury, because they tried to break you and failed. And now you carry not only your own strength, but the strength of every battle you've already won.